Hey there, Mr. Johnson. It's Wednesday, August 8th. A lot of people said they like the new camera angle except for one thing. Much better. There was one thing I forgot to address on Monday, and that was the title of my presentation, because the person who titled it is very proud of that title, and that person was not me, because I'm not an original person who comes up with original, witty, absolutely hysterical jokes. To get the full story, I have to tell you that I was in the Design Integrity Group at work, which is abbreviated down to DI. So I of course turned to Shub, since I constantly talk to him at work, and asked him what the title of my presentation should be, and he came up with the funniest thing I have ever read. He decided that I should call my presentation DI Why? Because I was talking about all the things I did this summer, and it was why DI exists, and it's also a really funny pun. But anyway, on to the Olympics, because that's kind of a big thing happening right now, considering it happens once every 4 years. I mean, so does an election, but whatever, Olympics is bigger. The most horrifying Olympic game I have ever seen is Equestrian. There is no other Olympic game that puts you in as much risk as when you ride this one-ton beast around and jump him over these giant things that realistically he probably is incapable of jumping over had he not been trained forever in it. In fact, when I watch it, I do the whenever anything bad happens. The horse is just trotting along and oh, he hit the pole. That's gonna be one entire penalty right there. While I find the sport entertaining, I did watch one rider almost get crushed by his horse when his horse didn't successfully make it over the bars and started swimming through the air and kicking the bars around and rolled over and almost crushed the guy. The horse then ran around without a rider for about 2 minutes until they finally coerced him into a location where they could regain control. Overall, a very scary and unpredictable sport because you never really know what the horse is gonna do. And even though I watched a bunch of the equestrian events where they run around and jump over the things, I still don't really understand the scoring system. You're only allowed to go around for a certain amount of time, but if you go past that amount of time, you're allowed to keep going. If you hit one of the poles, you get a certain amount in penalties, but I don't know what those penalties do. I'm not certain how many penalties that is. If you come up to something and your horse gets spooked and stops, there's some way of stopping the clock, and there's also some way of just walking around in a circle and trying again. There's some amount of the point system based on how well the horse jumps, which is really a subjective art form. I just don't get it. It's just fun to watch the pretty horses jump. Also, it's fun to watch the oldest competitors in the Olympics compete. There was one horse rider who was like 75 years old. That's a new thing I discovered this Olympic season. Horses are pretty cool. So Steve, I'll see you tomorrow.